Greetings, Vice Chancellor, dear Professor Miwa, Vice Principal of UNISA, dear Professor Jimmy Adesina, Director of this program, University of South Africa, UN Research Institute for Social Development, dear Dr. Godwin Murunga, CODESRA Executive Secretary, colleagues and friends, good morning and afternoon. Today, Mwalimu Professor Thandika Mkandawire would be 82 years old. We all know he passed away 2.5 years ago. As CODESRA wrote upon his death, Thandika was, and I quote, a brilliant economist and prodigious scholar whose works on African political economy challenged dominant ways of seeing the African continent on a wide range of issues that included structural adjustment and economic reform, democratic politics, neo-patrimonialism, and insurgent violence. End of quote. This reminds me of the beginning of the Center of African Studies at Eduardo Mondlane University in 1976, when theories and methodologies were challenged and a new way of thinking Mozambique within the Southern Africa region, the continent and the world was constructed. Professor Thandika was, and I quote, an intellectual giant and incorrigible Pan-African, not confined to the boundaries of a nation state, Ibu Mandaza wrote. I still remember Professor Thandika during the last CODESRA General Assembly in December 2018, always active, defying everybody, discussing ideas, democracy, economic independence, development about the continent and the world. Fortunately, CODESRA honored Professor Thandika when he was alive. It was in a colloquium in Malawi to celebrate his lifetime contributions to global knowledge in April 2016 with his family. This colloquium was to take place 5 years before with the University of Malawi, but violations of academic freedom led CODESRA to postpone it, expressing sympathy with the University Chancellor College lecturers. I always remember when I first met Professor Thandika. It was a CODESRA meeting in Maputo in 1990, before the end of the war with Renamo, at the Kayakwanga Hotel on the Maputo waterfront. I had just been appointed director of the Center of African Studies, the center created by Aquino de Bragança, assassinated with President Samora Machel in October 1986, and where Ruth First, appointed research director, was assassinated in the 17th August 1982. A center full of history of people who participated in the liberation of the African continent, but also of people assassinated and threatened because of the support Frelimo was giving to the fight against apartheid in Southern Africa and for the liberation in the continent. This meeting took place by the previous director, Dr. Sérgio Vieira, that died this year, a retired colonel from the armed struggle in Mozambique, led by the Mozambican Liberation Front, Frelimo. Appointed after Aquino de Bragança assassination, was always around imposing his ideas and not allowing the various members to do their job. Professor Thandika and Professor Wamba Diawamba were not happy with that situation and decided to leave the meeting and the country before its end. I learned from this first cross with Professor Thandika that freedom, democracy, respect, inclusion in the academy and in all the spaces of society are ideas we need to fight for. His life was an example of that, having to leave the country and work elsewhere. We are living difficult times, as Professor Issa Shivji said, in the continent and the world. Academies and academics are at risk. Governments or partners cut their support, using various excuses. But we all know what they really want to hit. It is our right to think, practice, and fly for another world of justice and democracy. Let us go on researching and writing, challenging dominant ways of seeing the African continent on issues like structural adjustment and economic reform, democratic politics, neo-patrimonialism, and insurgent violence, still commanding the politics in our times. Kanimambo, asante sana. Thanks.